Welcome, guys, to the SBN Network podcast. I'm your host, Steph, and with me is...
I'm Scott.
Yes.
And I'm Scott. We know how to do intros now.
This is a podcast where we take some deep dives into some wonderful artists and kind of look at their account in a different way, which is always a little bit positive, a little awesome, and you guys can enjoy their accounts with us.
And now that we've gotten more professional, I try not to say any dumb stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I try to at least always end on a good note.
Take a sip of coffee.
Yeah. Scott has to take a sip right before we start all the time.
It's a ridiculous thing that happened, and now I just kind of have made a tradition of it.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. We have begun. It's official.
Okay.
Well, officially, I want to welcome you to our next season for this podcast. I'm really excited, Stefan, that you said yes, because we've been following each other for a couple years now on the Instagram, and you're one of my favorite outdoor photographers. So I'm very excited that you're on here and that you're joining us, even though, what time is it over there?
It's now 7 p.m.
Okay, not too bad.
Interesting.
That's good.
Time zones are baffling to me.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Like, that has been one really fun thing about this podcast is most of the people we've talked to have been in the United States realm, but I always like when we get to talk to somebody outside because it's different. It could be like a different day even, and I think that's really fun. So
That's what caught me yesterday, Steph. I was thinking about, is it Saturday or Sunday? I was prepared.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
More prepared than me.
I was excited that you were excited about it too, so that made me happy when I saw your message. I'm like, oh, good. He's looking forward to it, so we're gonna have some fun. So that's pretty nice. Before we go any farther, I actually want to know where your handle came from because I've always wondered, is it like where you thought of it?
It's more or less my name.
That's what
The first part is my name mixed. And the second part came from the beginning of this account when I built lamps with action figures glued on it and painted and stuff like a light up diorama.
Yes.
That was the beginning.
Okay, I haven't seen this yet. Are we going to see this in the slideshow, Steph, or is this something
that's
that? Okay,
first
thank
photo.
God. Okay, thank God, because I was like, I haven't gone back that far, and I feel like really sad now.
No,
I went through your account so many times, and I'm like so interested.
I post just too much pictures. I would never scroll down if not necessary.
It's funny. I don't scroll down mine either. I go like a year maybe, and then I'm like, okay, we're done. It'll work out. I'm gonna bring up the slideshow just so Scott can see the photos. But I remember this being a big, like, collector's thing, not just from yourself, but a couple other accounts I remember having as a way to display and still have functionality, and also as like art pieces. I also noticed, like, going through your feed, you had a lot of the Disney Infinity characters, which was like a big movement too. Yeah. So
you actually incorporated the Disney Infinity characters into lamps too? Is that?
Well, just like
maybe some.
Okay.
I from the Nintendo Amiibos or from figures, I really like the posing. In my opinion, it's most of the time on top. The posing you can't recreate it with normal action figures.
Yeah.
And I cut off the NFC base with some sharp knives, and then you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's just a tiny statue, but I like the poses a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They looked really cool in the natural environments and everything. And then your pun with the pool party for this most recent photo was
so good.
Was great.
Spot on. Yeah. As a dad, that's such a good like dad joke too. Like I loved it. It made me so happy. I was like, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's like this one and the brand new one I posted some minutes ago. That's my life.
So good. So good. So out of curiosity, were you a collector before you started doing the lamp thing, or was it kind of like you saw people doing it and decided to kind of migrate into that? Like what was your timeline?
I was a collector, but there was no real focus. I like this comic. I like this figure. But I don't had really much action figures back that day, and I saw one lamp made of many action figures, like a Olympus sprayed with golden color.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to recreate it, and I thought maybe I can do it better. And you can buy your very special Dio lamp from Etsy at the time. I was on Etsy, and I sold maybe 5 to 7 lamps.
That's great. That is great.
And
well,
then
it's funny you say that about not having a particular focus, because we'll get into that in a little bit, because this is something I talked to Steph when I was talking about you yesterday with her, is something I love about your page as somebody who's got a hyper-focused page personally. You make things mash up so well together. Like, you don't hesitate to put a robot from something in with a Star Wars character, or a Marvel character in with the Witcher character. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but the thing that's fascinating is I barely even consider them mashups, because you just make them flow to the point where they just feel like they belong in the same universe, which is something different than a lot of other people do. Yeah, and I think that comes from, I guess, your idea of just kind of collecting things that you liked versus like being so pinpointed and specific. And it comes out so well in your photography, like so well.
Thank you. Sometimes it's more the design of a figure than actual the franchise. And if I like the robot from this movie, I want to have it.
Mm-hmm.
Robots, monkeys, astronauts. That's my stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good. That's a
good
a
stuff.
monkey and a robot. That's like a spectrum already.
Yeah.
What it is.
But there are rules for the mashups. But I think everybody can make his own rules, and my rules work for me, and so I will do it as long as I want.
I kind of wanted to go on, like, I have some few just like big moments that I happened to scroll through, because I think this was from like 2019, I believe. It was a couple years ago.
Maybe right when the game came out.
Yeah.
Okay. This is fire. I oh my god. Like, it's so good. The perspective is fantastic. Like, you were just at the like perfect angle. Like, the fact that horizon line from is there like a mountain back there that you were kind of near?
It's a mountain with many trees. It's the Black Forest. So
the fact that it goes right across his waistline. I mean, this is beautiful. I love this stuff.
The Rock is actually a real castle, because we have a lot here in Germany, in southern Germany, a medieval castle.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
Is it the kind of thing that you like when you go to? Is it more like a museum, or is it just you just go to it?
You can just go. In the city I work around, there are five from towers to like ruins like this one. And you can visit everyone whenever you want.
Yeah, I was born in Basingstoke, England, and so when on the weekends my parents are like, "Let's just go drive over here," because there's like castles everywhere, which is not something they have in America. So it's funny.
We do not have castles.
Maybe you should. Maybe
we should. I'm gonna build one.
I remember like rolling down like the hills into like what the moat used to be and stuff when I was kids. Like, you just run around, scream, and play. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Also, I try to light up the lightsabers, in this case, like Star Wars stuff, with natural light, because I visited 1 year the school from graphic design and stuff, but I changed to my actual work. Like, I'm an optician, and I'm fitting hearing aids for older people, and that's my hobby. And I'm not good in doing the Photoshop game, so I have to try to do it real.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I love when it's just authentic and it is what it is. It's not you don't throw. That's something that I love about your style in general, is you don't throw a lot of like over the top stuff in there. You don't do and actually I was going to ask you about this, because this is something I intentionally tried to do, and I'm like hoping I was right on this. You don't use like a lot of wires or anything to stand up your figures. Do you is it more like just balancing and like more traditional?
if we have a normal stand like this one, I use no wires, but
Okay.
for the action-packed scenes, of course.
Yeah, that's what I figured. But you're like, that's something that I really love about your stuff, and I tried to do that with some of mine. Was I only used the balance and the weight of the figures because it's something that I think always makes it look very real. Is when you just let the figure do the standing, and I think that's just it's beautiful. I think it makes the scene more believable.
Yeah, and I created this very own weak spot for me because I want to disappear the joints, the gaps on the figure, you know, and sometimes it works quite well and sometimes not. But I want to have little actors that create my scene that I create in my brain, and so we have to see this.
Yeah, work with what you know.
Yeah. There's nothing. It's a gorgeous image, anyways. Have you?
Thank you.
I was going to ask you this before. Do you have lights that you take out with you, or is all completely based on sun and timing?
No. I got some cheap LED spots, or I use my smartphone. Yeah, but I try to use as much natural light as possible.
Well, you blend it well, so even when if you're using little spots and LEDs, like it feels organic, so it doesn't feel like artificial at all. So you're nailing that.
Maybe there will some pics, and I can tell you when I use some extra lights.
I just started using extra lights just because I wanted to get some little bit more backlight. So I was just wondering if maybe, because I didn't at all. My first 3 years was just simply if the sun was in the right place, this is the photo and that's what I'm going to use. And so I just started, and it helps. And sometimes you just kind of turn them off and push them to the side and then do your thing. So just wondering. Now this next one, this is a masterpiece, by the way.
This was also an accident, but a masterpiece accident.
I will tell you, Stefan, I came really close to buying an alien figure because of your page. And Steph knows that this is something that happens to me periodically where we get a guest on and it makes me need to go spend money. And I started digging, and I'm probably going to get one. I just can't find the one that grabbed me. But I had never really looked at them until your page. And we've had people on here who do, who have used the xenomorphs, and your work with them,
Thank you.
It's remarkable. So this photo is insane. I have nothing to say about it. Go, Steph, talk about it. I have nothing. Speechless.
I love your story about it too being an accident, and sometimes it makes for the best photos, especially being out in nature. You never know what's going to happen or what's going to current bugs, the works. And so this is just, it's perfect. It's there's no real words for it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with this photo is it's gritty, it's dark, it feels so real. It's unsettling. It's the little things floating in the air. It's just, it's something. It is something.
Do you want to know where I took this photo?
Yes, please.
If you want to know, sorry, because
please go.
This was my first try with the GoPro 2. I always want to try an underwater toy shot, and I saw a couple of them, but I want to try my first own one. So I got this xenomorph. It was actually my first from NECA also, and I put them in. I put it in a plastic box on our balcony where my wife do gardening stuff, and it was full of dirt and water, and I placed the alien with a wire, and I'll let the GoPro run and collect my favorite pictures. That's it.
That's amazing. I love that was the process. Oh God, yeah, that's great. That's great. The story made it even better.
Thank you.
I love that. This is something that I like about your page in general. Is you're one of those people who shoots in kind of like me, where I just look for things rather than creating from the ground up. I sort of try to find what I can find and make it happen. And so I admire that, and clearly works.
Because it was one of that toy shots you took in 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and it got this attention, and we all know the other where you took 10 hours and you got just really really less likes.
Yeah, no one
compared to
cares.
this one.
Isn't that weird when that happened? Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't even. I was just talking about that. It's so bizarre. You take like all this time going in through a photo. You're like, okay, I'm gonna Photoshop it. I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna make it really exciting and blah 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 blah. And you go through all this effort, and everybody's like, that's nice. And then the photo that you just set up and let happen. Some of the photos that people reacted so strongly to were just either last minute decisions, or it was, I was just setting up a figure and seeing what might come of it. It's crazy. It's so crazy how that happens. But hey, artistic impulse.
Yeah,
a lot to be said for it.
And the reflection at the top, did you have something at the top of this too?
No, it was just
the water.
An open box, maybe 20 centimeters. Close under the surface, maybe that's why.
It's so good. It's so good.
I tried to recreate this one this year with the xenomorph underwater scene and the marines on top. I don't know if you saw it. Like the fisheye effect, but it was just the same procedure as here.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried printing this out of curiosity? Have you printed any of your photos?
One clone trooper. I got a custom clone trooper with a tiny sparkle effect and some snow in the background. That's next to my door here, but not much. I would try this one, like the bright thing in a living room.
Yes, that's why I was just wondering if you had printed it, because I feel like it would print really, really cool. Like I feel like it would look really good. But
I have to try more prints. That's right.
I know that there's some people that have like a metallic paper, and I think your coloring and like clarity would look really good with like a metallic finish on it, because it would look really awesome. Yeah. Not that they don't look awesome regardless. I would buy one of these. So they're really, really cool. And we have to go into fun now.
Oh my gosh. So fun. So freaking funny. This makes me giggle. Are you a Doctor Who fan? Or just like the figure?
No. I watch the series, but just from time to time when I stumble in the TV over it, or I see it on Netflix or whatever. Then I watch a couple of episodes, and there are really good ones, like the astronaut, the dead astronaut with the skull face. I try to recreate it with the NECA stuff again. I never saw the real old stuff from
like
Dr.
the black
Who.
and white.
Yeah, like with the head and
they're funny.
It works. This is just adorable. Like your sense of humor shows through. Like you have all these action shots, and then you'll have like comedic gold in between. So
yeah. For the whole family. It should be for the whole family.
Yes.
What is the wig from?
Yeah, I was gonna ask.
You're about to ask that? I'm just curious. What did you take that off of?
It's from 11, from McFarlane, from Stranger Things. When you can remove it and you got the short hair.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And I tried it, and it fitted perfectly. So
so good.
Such a neat, like little.
Where did you, out of curiosity, Steph? You don't have to go back necessarily. Where were you when you took it? What were you using as the backdrop? It almost looks like a garage door or something.
It was a garage door next to us here in the industrial area. But I ever walk 500 meters in this direction.
Industrial areas are where it's at for toy photographers, man. You can find so much good stuff. So good. Oh man. This is the essence of what I was talking about when we talked about like mashups. Because like it all just fits. They all make sense together. But like everything from the droid to the dinosaurs to the like, is it is that a Star Wars staff?
Yeah. Yes.
Like a vibro staff or whatever. Like, I mean, everything in this, it's like complete mashup. Like, where did the robe come from?
The robe is also from a small Jedi figure.
Oh,
like
I got you.
The Kenner figures.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, this is awesome. Freaking
And when
awesome.
when you go and buy figures, I know you said you had some specifics, but do you also look at the items they come with and be like, I can just snag this for
Absolutely.
a NECA for $15
Absolutely.
and get these accessories, and then
If you
figure can go there.
the last time I always look at the Gremlin figures because they got tiny popcorn,
Yeah.
tiny heads, tiny 3D glasses, and all that stuff. It's sometimes more interesting than the figure itself.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Definitely.
often, but sometimes.
And then the dinosaurs, you have quite a few dinosaurs, which are like the perfect monsters.
Apes, astronauts, skeletons, dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Add this one also. I like dinosaurs since Jurassic Park back then, when I was too young to go to the cinema.
Are these Jurassic Park dinosaurs?
No,
or are they from somewhere else?
It's called. I imagine it always like a GI Joe stuff we got here in Germany. It's in Toys R Us broke. Is it right? Yeah, in Germany too. But there's a new toy shop inside, and you can buy these dinosaurs pretty cheap. Like the big one came with some soldiers, $20, and the Raptor came also with like a saddle and a rope, and also a riding soldier, $15.
That's so cool.
There's no articulation except of the jaw, but I like the design. Posing is okay. I take it.
That works. Absolutely. That works.
Do you have like certain locations you always kind of go to, like when you go for your walks and stuff or outdoors?
Yeah, I got like 4 to 5 places around the house in a 5-kilometer radius. I think I want to go outside. I look at some figures and think about an idea, and then I walk out of the door, say goodbye to the wife and to the daughter, and we see us in 2 hours.
Yep, and just let it happen.
It's perfect. No car, walk, take some photos, go home, editing.
There you go.
Yeah.
You do a lot of like water splashes and stuff too. Are you using like the canned air, or are you using the jump in the water and like see how it works?
like this one here is a stick. I just smashed the stick on the surface. Yeah.
Perfect.
This is wild. This is wild. This is this is a perfect example of your versatility. I mean, you just framed it perfectly.
I really like to play with the scale and the size of the figures. So I used these small model train people from time to time. They're big players on Instagram or Twitter, but I like their style, not the really minimalistic one. So I add some figures and try to do it outdoor.
So I have a question, just because sometimes I notice stuff like this, and I'm curious about your background. I know you said you did a little bit with graphic design and stuff, but did you do art when you were younger? Like other types of art, visual art, painting, drawing, anything like that? Painting,
drawing. That's it. No music, just
visual arts. Yeah.
Give me some paper and a pencil.
All right, because you frame things very thoughtfully. Like it's not just a figure in a photograph. Like everything feels intentional, but at the same time, it's very like it looks like you're not overthinking it. It just looks like your brain naturally sees things almost like the way it should. Like I'm not. Again, you're on here. We're gonna get nitpicky, and it's cool. Up in the corner, there's that little like bokeh dot. It's like an orangey color. it doesn't even intersect with anything on the figure. The figure completely stands out against it, and it sounds like a really little thing, but I feel like if that had been in contact with the figure, it would have looked like a wart on the robot or something, and it doesn't. And the placement of the rock in the bottom, the fact that there's a little water in front of it and the rock isn't completely at the base of the photo, I think gives it the photo a lot more depth too. You just your detail is so clear, and like I said, very thought provoking, and the boat being white against the gray, it stands out so well. You know your stuff. You know your stuff.
Also, you have to use a wire for the boat. I drilled a tiny hole in the boat and glued like a wire from this size, and you can put it in the ground.
I was going to ask because I have not figured that part out yet, and I usually let them float, and then I just try my best to try to get it still enough where it's going to stay in the right spot.
You have to be fast. And the spawn figure, it's one of the good examples what we talked earlier. I just like the design, and when you got it in your hands, it's nothing. No articulation. It was my first Iron Giant before I got the real figure.
Okay, it was a space holder for the time being. Yeah.
It is a cool design, but it's even a cooler, the color palette would work well with your natural environment. So when I try to buy figures that are just kind of off base to kind of add some more elements to some of my favorite characters, I try to look for something that's a simpler color palette that's going to match with the green that you kind of have going on, and you have the same kind of environments. And I see that you might not think about it, but your robots and stuff like that kind of naturally go with the greens and everything that's around you. So it's very cool.
Thank you.
I love the little bit of reflection on that rock in the bottom right corner too. I think there's something really cool there, that it's just got a little bit of gloss to it, and it doesn't just disappear. It helps create a frame. I don't know, there's something really neat about that.
I try to create some waves to make the boat look more moving.
Yeah,
and I think some water splash over the rock, and it looked better after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool.
So freaking funny. So good. Where's this bike from? Where did you get that?
You asked about my other stuff I tried when I was earlier, and and I told you I did some sketches and stuff. My mom, she's actually her job is to make the windows of the stores more interesting. I don't know the. Can you say me can you say me the job in English?
I honestly, I think a lot of the times it's sales floor designers over here in America.
Maybe,
that's kind of what they do.
Yeah, maybe
for
kind of
Macy's and businesses like that. I had a friend who actually did that for Anthropologie for a little while, and did front window displays.
She got all that stuff still. She's still working, and she got all that stuff. And sometimes I visit her storage rooms and pick what I want, like a tiny car.
Is so cool.
This bike is made out of old cans,
oh my God.
Like a recycling thing.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
What a cool job.
Yeah, I would have a field day digging through her stuff. I'd be a mess. And filling my whole basement.
So cool.
And also, I lent these figures to my mother because she made some prints. She made more prints than myself, and she put it in some stores, and I offered her my figures as add-on to the picture, so you can see
that's awesome.
The toy shots in the window, and you can see the figure next to them.
That's too cool. That is too cool.
That made me also proud.
I bet. That's really cool. Your mom was proud too.
Yeah. Your smoke and stuff, do you use, is that Again, are you like blowing smoke? Are you throwing dirt? Are you aero spray or whatever that's called?
It's a mix. Inside, I bought like a really cheap electric cigar with with the like for let's say 20 euros, and when you buy one of the refillers without nicotine and without flavor, you can use it inside. That's my smoke for indoors. And outdoors, I got like a duster. You can clean up the keyboard with these dust spray cans.
Yeah, turn them over,
and of course throw dirt. That's the simple method.
Yep, that makes sense. That's really cool. That's interesting. The idea of like almost like a vape pen type thing. I never thought about that. Like I haven't seen anyone do that. That's so smart. That's such a smart thing.
You have to use a straw and a vape.
Okay.
And you got normally you have some usable smoke.
That's so cool. That's great.
Very cool. I just like that he's having fun too. It's very lighthearted on The Mandalorian. Says
considering how serious it is.
It's very cute. This is the one you were talking about.
That's the one.
Yeah.
This one's good. This one's real good. This almost feels like this almost reminds me of like Amy's style a little bit.
The catacombs.
Yeah, catacombs. Like this is some weird darkness, and you're getting like the reflections. I'm assuming that's like reflection from the sky in the glass of his the trees and stuff. You're seeing a little bit of that. And
it was so in the forest, inside a small river, and that's actually the heaven.
Yeah, you like getting your figures dirty, and I appreciate that. So it's a nice use of throwing them in the water and the mud and everything like that.
But not every figure.
Some of them protect. Yeah, I get that. I've been like that. There's some figures like I don't care about throwing like a stormtrooper into the dirt, but there's certain figures I'm like I don't want to get you too dirty. No. You're too nice.
And I cut off the spine of one of the Predator skull trophies.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and if you remove the helmet, it have to be. It looks like a long neck skeleton astronaut. if you take the helmet off, the neck is way too long. If you use a realistic amount of neck, you can barely see the eyes from.
That's what I was going to say. Like the placement of the skull looks perfect because of that. So it's super important. Like you see the mouth, you see the nose, you see the eyes, and if it had been any shorter, you wouldn't have seen the whole thing. So thinking about those ratios was so important. But that's cool.
Because in the movies, it was kind of a really big helmet, and the face, the head of the actors was kind of in the lower part of the helmet. But I didn't like it for my creation.
I agree. I also feel like they kind of looked down into it a little bit more, and being able to be at this angle, I think it made more sense to keep it high. So.
Like always the classic science fiction movie, inside light in the helmets. Perfect to watch outside.
I was wondering too, do you take it straight from the camera to Instagram, or do you have like a process in between? Is there like an app you use or anything like that?
I use the Sony Alpha 6500, and at the beginning I was happy because you could just send it via Wi-Fi on the smartphone. And I'm one of these. Even if I was in the graphic school, I sit on the couch next to my wife and edit almost every pic on my smartphone using Snapseed. The app Snapseed, like the cheap Photoshop.
Yep, I love Snapseed. I have Snapseed on my phone. I don't use it that often because I don't really send photos to my phone. But like, I think Snapseed's amazing. Like, it's so good for what for most editing purposes.
Also, if I try to reach my photo goal also like 70%, so I don't have to edit too much.
That's cool. That's
but
important.
Maybe since a year I I take the pictures from the camera to my laptop and send it from the laptop to the smartphone because there was a quality loss. Where there's just like a light version you got on the smartphone. So I have to do this extra step.
Okay, so do you shoot in RAW normally, or do you shoot in JPEG?
No, JPEG.
You shoot JPEG? Okay.
JPEG.
Have you always shot with Sony, or did you shoot with something before Sony? Like
the camera I got before the Sony Alpha was also Sony. It was the Sony HX 300. Like it was a bridge camera without interchangeable lenses. Because that was the time when I just took photos just for fun, and I really liked it. I think it was 30 times optical zoom. Yeah. If you could take pictures from the full moon from your bare hand. Yeah. That was impressive.
No, it's a wild camera. It's a wild camera. The how many lenses do you have now? Like, what do you use for the Sony typically? Just one? That's it?
I got two. I got also I got this camera from my family, from my wife, for multiple occasions like birthday and Xmas. Yeah. But I have to buy the lens. So I bought a all-round lens, like it was a small portrait lens. But then my wife bought this macro. I got FE 2.8 50 macro. Yeah. And I use it for all
almost everything. Yeah. That's awesome. That's really awesome. There were photographers, you go back in history, that truly only used one lens and one camera throughout their whole career. You find something you're comfortable with. I have a friend who's a street shooter, and he only shoots with a 35 millimeter lens. That's it. That's all. He's got a 35 millimeter lens and one camera body, and that's all he does. He doesn't change it. He keeps it as that's his thing. He doesn't even do any cropping. He just, whatever he gets out of the 35 millimeter lens is what he uses. Yeah. And yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that.
It would be cool to have one or two more lenses, and I would sure try it one day, but I think there would all be always I have to learn it. If I change the lens, I have to learn many things new, and that's the way I'm comfortable at the moment. So I will keep it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also a price thing. Because cool. that lens was the same price when I used the old camera as a whole.
I know,
but I love this camera.
Good. It's
like my optical weapon.
Absolutely. It's funny. So when I worked at the camera shop up in Boston, we were a Sony dealer, and I was the only one, I swear, out of the guys who didn't have at least a Sony camera. I had other brands, but for whatever reason, I never got one. And I like Sony a lot. I think Sony's amazing. They truly make some of the best sensors. They make some of the best lenses. And I swear, if more Canon and Nikon shooters realized what Sony is capable of, I think they would start switching really fast, because Sony is on another level right now. They really pushed for that full frame mirrorless camera. They really pushed for all that stuff, and people started seeing it. I don't think Canon and Nikon would be making mirrorless full frame sensor cameras right now had it not been for Sony. I think Sony was the one who kind of almost twisted them into having to do that, because they realized that they were going to start losing customers to them. Sony they are on fire. And all my friends who shoot Sonys, I'm always impressed with the clarity, the sharpness, the everything about it. So it's,
I use the burst mode a lot for all this explosions and the dust and throw dirt stuff.
Yeah,
it's like a machine gun.
It is. Yeah, especially because no shutter up and down. I mean, it just makes it go so fast. It's wild cameras.
Very cool. I think our challenge is next. I don't remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it popping out the whole day. It was cool.
Yep. This was so again, I said it a little bit beforehand, and now I'm comfortable enough saying it on the podcast now that I'm looking at it. This might be one of my favorite photos I've taken since I started doing this. And it's all because of you. But yeah, I love that photo of the Predator dragging the Stormtrooper by the head. I thought it was just so great. There was something so gritty and just like animalistic about it. Like there was no sensitivity to this like bodies pulling behind him. I just thought your photo was so good. And I was like, I have to do it. I have to. And this happened while I was shooting the series. I had other stuff in mind. And then I was like, I wonder if I could just get Groot to just drag this lifeless Stormtrooper behind him. And I was just started like playing with it. And I was like, yep, it's going to work. And I tried to give some of your atmosphere haze to the background and stuff too. Is something I don't tend to do as much, but I felt like that's a big part of a lot of your images, is that really cool kind of like washed out background. And I wanted to make sure it had that. And I wanted to make sure I did a mashup that didn't necessarily feel like a mashup. Because I think, again, that's something that's so cool about your character interactions. Is the one that stands out to me the most is you have the one with, again, I'm not familiar with the characters, but the character from The Witcher and is facing the character from Stranger Things, the monster. Yeah. And it doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't feel like a mashup. It just feels like these two characters exist in this world together. And that was what I really, really wanted to try to do. I really wanted to try to create that idea of, this is not a Marvel character interacting with a Star Wars character. This is just two characters who exist in the same universe who are, interacting. So, yeah. And that's something that you just, you do it better than most out there. Like it's truly like anytime I look at a photo like that, when you do a mashup that's clearly not supposed to be, I'm like, yeah, I don't think of it as, two different universes clashing. I just think of it as, an image with these two characters working together, doing whatever. So I had to try that. And we didn't put this one up, but your idea of what I called it, like the gladiator standoff. You have these great like gladiator type standoffs where it's the, protagonist and antagonist, whichever side you want to choose, doesn't really matter, but like facing off against each other with that very like stoic stance. And that's something you've done a few times that I was like, okay, I got to make sure I capture that too, because that's a big one you do that I think is, you nail it every time. The pose always feels really like authentic, and it feels like they feel hard, and they're just like, all right, let's do this. And you can almost like hear like the internal dialogue with the two characters just staring each other down. But yeah, had a blast shooting this style. It was a good time.
It's great to hear that.
Last season we tried to do like black and white photography, and I'm actually really happy that we started to do color this season because it's giving a lot more options. And so we decided on this theme, like I think 2 weeks ago. So I'm sorry for like the quick turnaround on this too, but we were trying to do, your season was supposed to be for summertime. And so my next one, I went with a little bit, I was trying to find an astronaut figure, and I have this little guy that's like a shark thing. So it's kind of like he's out of water. So I was trying to do the toes, right?
God.
But when I saw him and I got him in the mail, I was like, this is perfect for my shot for Stefan's kind of like energy that you give to natural environments.
It is.
If there's a nice root or a nice spot of grass,
Mm-hmm.
I tried, and you get results like this one. But we all need the more shark astronaut figures. I would buy this one also.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I love the reflections in the top too, in the glass. Like, there we are. We see that sky, and it's so good. I like that he's just like out of water, like living his life in the woods because he's able to. That's too cool.
you have a very like stoic is a good word for it, but there's like almost like a silence to some of your photos, like of them like kind of looking around an alien world. And so
Yes.
you go from like big explosions and cool action scenes to like very like serene, peaceful times. And so I was trying to capture that more because it was more my speed than all the dirt flying everywhere. I've been trying to do more of that, but more my speed.
Yeah, you do those character thinking photos where like you can almost imagine like what's going on in their minds. Yeah, obviously you can tell, like you can imagine what's going on in a character's mind when there's a rocket shooting past his head, but you do a really great job with characters just in a position, and you look at them and you're like, oh my gosh, what is going through their minds right now? But that photo, if we go back to the one from a while ago with the people on the boat with the robot coming up, like it's not full of action. There's not like a crazy scene happening there, but you can imagine what is going through these poor people's mind as they're sitting on this boat.
Yeah. Or maybe they even don't get there's the robot.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of like thought.
So you can I try to inject a few drops of my story, and you can do whatever you want.
It is the blessing and the curse of being a photographer. I feel like is you're capturing and this goes for all photography, you're capturing this microsecond of time, and you kind of then give it to everybody else, and then they sort of have to decide where they want it to go. It's very hard to capture an entire story in a like just a split second. Yeah. And so some of that responsibility falls on the viewer, and I think you got spot on with that.
Yeah, and that's one reason because why I want to do this thing here right now. So you got your ideas and you try to create it like you imagined it, but it's really interesting what the other side is saying. Mm-hmm. So that's why I like comments much more than all the likes. That's not necessary. Yeah. So if you know what I get, what I want to say.
Yeah, I agree. It's so fun seeing like people's interpretations. Like I know Justin recently has been posting on some of mine, and he'll actually do like a little dialogue, like what he can imagine the person thinking or saying, and it's so fun because it makes so much sense. And sometimes hearing another person's perspective like opens up a whole other idea about that photo that you didn't have before. I think that's super fun here. Like if we took this exact photo, if we just took Steph's photo and put it in front of like 20 different people, yes, there might be some overlap to how people like interpret this image, but there's also going to be a huge spectrum of what people think is happening here, what people think this character is feeling. Is this anything as simple as, is this character a good guy or bad guy? What is a good guy or a bad guy? Like it's very, very cool. And I think that's fun about, what we do. I think that open-endedness.
Yeah. Speaking of
walking and thinking.
Yes, exactly. Like you had you probably had a particular thought here that was going through your head as you were taking it, but people could take this in any direction, like down to the fact that, is that character supposed to have that other character in its hand? Like, is that okay? Like, are we witnessing a rescue or a kidnapping? Like, who knows? Like, and I think that is the fun of what we do. You may have one idea of what's happening here, and somebody else may view it and, have another idea of what's happening here. But, and then artistically, God, I love that bright light behind him. That is just gorgeous. Like just coming through, like just surrounding him, giving that halo effect. And, it's, I like that you angled it too. It's interesting because I'm not always a sucker for angled photos, but this one like really makes it feel like he's coming at us. I don't know. I think that's just stunning. And
do you have a tripod of this, or is this the camera on the ground?
I I used like these gorilla pods with the
Mhm.
movable
Oh, yeah.
arms. Yeah, but one of the arms broke, and it's very risky to use it again. If I put my camera in a little river, and it falls off from time to time. I can't risk it. So at the moment I use like a small pillow. You know this these photographer pillows, or I use my head or a plate.
Yep. I use
Yeah.
my sandals sometimes. I'll usually take my shoe off and I'll stick it, and people will be looking at me doing that, but it works.
Mm-hmm. No, I put mine on the ground, like, and I have to like use sticks and stuff to tilt it to the angle that I want to be able to let it do its auto shoot while I throw dirt, because you have
Yeah.
to be your own like everything. So I was wondering the same way, like it is kind of risky for the camera, but my camera looks like it's been through war anyways. So being outside, and I'm always interested in people that take it this close to the ground outside, how you would go about that.
Maybe just a piece of paper. No direct contact, but a piece of paper would be fine. Yeah, if it's
I'll have to
dry.
start. Yeah, I usually have towels with me too, because there's always some kind of wet part you
Yeah.
have to kneel in and something like that.
This is the first time I'm looking at this photo, so I got to point this out too. Sorry, I'm looking obsessively. It would have been, again, so easy for somebody not to leave that dark like tree on the I guess if you're looking at the screen, the right side.
Yes.
But you left it in there to frame the character, and had it been cut out, it just would have been, the whole top right corner would have been a white blur, and I just don't feel like it would have had the same impact as it does by framing it with that tree over there. Again, little detail, but this is where, artistic minds sometimes stand out quite a bit. And
I can't even say if I do it by purpose, but it looked better, and so I
Yeah.
have to do it like that.
Well, that's the thing. It's in your subconscious. Like, as you have an artistic mind, so it's there and it's thinking about that stuff. Maybe you weren't sitting there specifically thinking, "Oh, I need to make sure I do this in order to get, the best photo." But you recognize that it looks significantly better if you just shift it over a little bit. And that's, I think, again, that's always one of those things that stands out. And you see it a lot with people who shoot outdoors. I think that's why I obsess over this more with people who shoot outdoors, because you have to work with what you find. You're not as free to create your own sets and stuff. Like somebody who's creating their own sets, there's a total different skill set to that, but you can set it up so it's aesthetically pleasing. When you're outside shooting, you have to find what is aesthetically pleasing and make it work. It's that
Yes.
you have to be very reactive, and that's what's really cool about this, that you're finding that space and making it work for the character.
So normally I know the area where I want to try to create my idea, but then you have to look for the right spot in this
Mhm.
place. That's right. Yeah. And then fall over,
Yeah.
put it back up.
Multiple times. Yep, constantly.
Yeah.
When I was taking that photo with Groot dragging the stormtrooper, like, it was every once in a while, like, it just kept tilting back because the head was pushing down on the arm. They just kept falling on top of each other and sandwiching, and I was just like, started getting really mad at it, and it's like about to rain, and I'm just staring, going like, how am I going to get you to stand? But
And Groot got already big feet.
oh yeah, huge. Yeah.
So funny. All right, Stefan. This is the last little thing.
Oh
here
my
for-
God, it's too good.
Mhm.
This was one of these figures I just got to have.
Mhm.
It's like it's not even in a box back again. This one.
Yeah, he's so cute.
What is that? What is it from?
It's from Damn Toys. I
Yeah.
guess that's the brand, and it's the top should be like the camera unit in the B2 in that plane.
Mhm.
And in the 80s in the Cold War, the U2 was the highest flying plane from you
Okay.
over
Yeah,
Russia,
it's a-
and that's
yeah,
the
it's a
camera
unique
unit. Yeah, like a little astronaut, robot, whatever. I saw him. I had to buy this guy.
Is he articulated?
Yeah.
Like he can move and
Yeah.
stuff? Oh my god.
You got like astronaut food for drink.
Oh my god.
It's
Oh, I want him so bad. He's so freaking amazing.
you have to check there's a new one coming this year
Yeah.
with the mask with a 80s mobile phone, the
Oh my
the
god.
suitcase, like it's like a business guy, the new
Oh
one.
my god.
I imagine this one came to Earth before the pandemic, and the other one is now like a guy from our planet. It's just
So
like
good.
like a refugee, and he has to work through the pandemic.
This is so good. Oh
Mhm.
my god. Stefan, thank you so much for coming on here. Like,
I thank you.
do you, other than your Instagram, do you have any other accounts like Facebook, any things that you use, website or anything like that? Or is this basically just your thing?
It's for the toy shots. I just use Instagram. I'm on
Gotcha.
Twitter just for information, or I follow some toy photographers on Twitter. I guess most of them are Japanese guys.
Mhm.
I saw that thing on Twitter. There are many Japanese toy photographers, more than maybe on Instagram, or they got both.
Yeah.
But I just do it on Instagram with this
Yeah.
account. Yeah.
It's funny. I've tried to. I have a Facebook and I have a Twitter, and I tried to do all that stuff, but like I just tend to focus on Instagram. Like it's so easy and so usable. So.
And it's normally it's just about the pics. It's just about the pictures, but so you can slide 20 or 30 pictures but then you stop, and then maybe you read, and then maybe you think, and then maybe you write a comment.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff I like.
Yeah, it's nice. All right. Well, we are going to say thank you and end this episode here because that was our hour. Lovely talk and everything else going on. I'm going to also say now that I'm going to end the broadcast and you're not going to go away because I always say it towards the end.
Absolutely.
And Scott's going to take a sip right before we end. So this is going to conclude everything. But I really appreciate you doing this because I know you don't normally do these kind of things. And so this was like super awesome for me just because we get to know you a little better too.
Yeah, it means a lot. Again, you are fantastic, and your
Thank
work
you.
is just absolutely stunning. I love it. I adore it. So I'm just happy that we got to chat with you and find out your process.
It was a great honor to me. Thank you.
Cool.
Well, y'all, thank you for listening to another wonderful episode of the combined SBN F-Stop Rebel podcast. Truly a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed everything. Remember, please do not grow up. It's a waste of time. I am Scott, F-Stop Rebel, and there's obviously Steph.
Yep, I'm still here, and you can find me at Slag My Thrilla or the SBN. You'll see all the credits on the end, but I always want to say, just guys, stay awesome and keep it up.